Welcome back, GRD 122, to our ex4 Corvette practice, where we're doing a practice illustration before we do a real one or before you pick your own. Now, I did this one the first time down here, and by the way, I'm in my files in Figma, and if you don't see them, make sure you go to Recents and even Drafts if you don't see them in there. But this is the one I did before the first time, and I could have just did that one and retraced my steps and just kind of went through that, but I started this one because I wanted to kind of start it from scratch and help you make decisions as you go through it, because everything's going to be a little bit different. Every design is going to be a little different. So I'm going to open this up, and this is the one I got from Creative Commons, and I open this up and there's nothing here. What happened to all my work? And actually it's here, it's on the frame. And just to go back and see what I did. Now remember, you can turn layers on and off here, and you can also turn their fill and stroke off. Not delete them, but even turn them on and off. So if I go to red accent, it's turned off. There's an eyeball closed there. So I'll turn it on. There's my red accent. And if I go to red base, it's on here because I see an eyeball. And this one's on. And I'll go to red base, and I'll click on it. I'll make sure I select that layer, and it's off. So the fill's off. So I'm not actually hiding the layer, I'm just hiding their fill, because sometimes you might need to see through things. I'll go to base black and I'll turn that on, and that's what I had so far. So that's all I have, and I'm going to do some highlights. And again, it's very angular in here, and we can soften things up if we want, but I'm going to go in here and do a little bit more. So I'm going to turn these off again. So maybe I'll just turn the layers off here. I could do that too. And what I'll do is I'll do this little highlight part. So I'll go above here, so whatever I do is on top, and I'll go back to my pen tool. And I'll zoom in a little bit, and I just want to do this. It's kind of a magenta highlight. Now, I don't want to have it magenta. I think I might have it white. I might, just like this is white, or a kind of a lighter version of that pink. So I'm just going to start here and just go around. And remember, you could smooth things off with that bend tool. And I'll go up here, and I'll kind of follow this, even though I think we followed it already, so it doesn't have to follow that closely. And I'll just go down in a line like this. I'll move over. I'll just click. I'll go, and I'll kind of go over here and try to follow this, not do the other one. And I'll just go up here, and this is just going to be a little highlight. I'll come down here a little bit and go up and move over and kind of go in and out there. And remember, close it off. And if you want to smooth anything while you're in this editing mode, you could kind of round this off a little. I could round this off so everything doesn't look so angular. You could add some angles in here. I'll bring this up a little, bring this up a little so there's some roundness to it. And even over here, I might bring this down a little bit. And if you want to add a point, you could go, I think, with the pen tool and just go right on it, and you can add a point. Now when this thing comes out, hit escape, because it's going to want to continue it, so hit escape. Now I added a point, and I could go to this arrow and kind of bring this up if you wanted to. So if you wanted to, I'll zoom in here, so if you wanted to make this go around the tire, I'll just kind of drag this up a little bit, or I'll grab the points here. There's some anchor points in here. Now I know they're a little hard to see. And let me see, there's one here. Now I don't mean anchor points, I mean the handles. There's the anchor point, that's the handle. So I'm kind of making this round, kind of making it kind of round here. And I double clicked, actually it's good that happened. I double clicked and I'm no longer editing it. It took me out of editing mode, so I went on that thing again. So I'll click on this again to go back into this mode. So if you double click, it could take you out. So that's what happened. I'll go here, maybe I'll take this bend tool and bend it in if it lets me. And I'll bend it in a little bit. And any of these, I'll bend this out. I'll bend this up so it looks a little more natural, and I'll zoom out again. And I could bend this down a little bit and bend that down a little bit. And if you need to add any more to this shape, to this vector, which we're going to give it a name, you could just take the pen tool and add more to it. So I'll just add a little lighter kind of shape up here where this magenta is. Now I'm not sure how this will look. Again, I did not plan all this out. I just thought I'd try a new one and see how it goes, and just kind of go through my steps of just building on top of it, because that's what you're going to be doing. So I'm going to hit done, and I'll call this, there's red base, red accent. Now maybe I'll call this red highlight. And just to see what things look like so far when I'm on red highlight, I'll hide the stroke. I don't even have to delete it, but I'll add a fill and I'll make it kind of red, and then I'll take it really into the white. So I'll kind of really make it a light pink, and close that, and then I'll put these things back on and just see how it looks, see if it looks any better. And again, it's meant to look like an illustration, and that doesn't look bad. I could probably even make it look lighter. Could probably be even a brighter white. You could do that. Has some shine to it, so that looks okay. And we have some darker red in there, and again, we're gonna have to do the tires. The tires won't be easy either. So let's jump in to see what else we have. So I'm gonna turn off red highlight, red accent, red base, and there's some dark red parts in here, which I'll do, and I'll call it red dark, and I'll put it on top of everything. So I'll go here, I'll take my pen tool, and I'll just kind of go over these. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Now that's kind of, it's going around there, so I'll come out a little. And I'll skip over the license plate thing. I'll come down here. Now we have other red stuff, but I'll see how it looks later. And I'll just make that straight. And again, I closed it off. Then I'll use my bend tool to kind of round it a little. And maybe I'll round this a little bit. And I don't know, round that in. But that looks okay. And if there's any other colors that have that, I could take my pen tool and just go here and kind of, you know, click on this part. Make a little triangle. And then if I use the bend tool, then I can make it kind of like a little more swooshy. Going in there like that. I could take my arrow here and kind of pull it out and make it kind of go more around the wheel a little bit like that. And there's some other areas in the back I could do. I'm just going to maybe do this part here, and I didn't mean to do that, so I'll hit escape because maybe I didn't close it up. I thought I closed it up, but I'm going to go here and I'll zoom in, and I just want to do this part here. So I'm just going to go down here, click. Now, I was going to put gray over that, so maybe let me undo that. Let me just go through it, because we're probably going to put gray on top of it, because I got a bunch of gray to do with the tires. A lot of stuff in there. The tires are going to be the hardest part. I'll bend some stuff in here. Bend it just a little. Bend this just a little. And I know there's some dark areas down there. I'm going to leave that for now. I'll keep that straight. That looks okay straight. And this area I'll call red dark. And I'll give it a fill. I'll go over here, turn off the stroke, add a fill. And I think sometimes you can take the eyedropper. Now, the problem with using the eyedropper is we have it toned down. So I could go back and take the car, but I think I'll just do that and just make it kind of a darker color like that and just see what happens. And now while I'm in here, I'll hit done to get out of there, and I'll turn these other ones on and just see how I'm doing and see if it's shaping up. It's kind of shaping up as an illustration. If I turn off my image in the back, it's kind of shaping up. Some of those angles there I might want to smooth out, but and the tires, I want to round that off a little bit. The tires will kind of bring it out, and the kind of the roof here of the car we have to work on, but it's shaping up. As far as an illustration. I don't think it's as nice as my other one, but it's not as nice of a picture, I don't think. But anyway, I'll turn these off again. Go and turn these off. And turn on the image. All right, what do I need now? Now I have some highlights here. I could do some white highlights. I'll wait and get the tires first. There's some gray here. And what I'll do for tires is I'll go in my red dark, and so that does something above it. And I'll go in here, and actually I'll just use an ellipse. I'm not going to try and make an oval myself, so I'll go in here and use this a little ellipse in here, and I'll use a gray for now, and I'll turn off the fill and I'll add a stroke just so I can see what's going on. And I don't know, maybe I'll use that whole thing. Maybe I'll kind of stretch it out. I know part of it's the rim, part of it's the tire, and I'll just kind of stretch it in a little bit. And I'll try to rotate it, go around the edge here, and rotate it a little bit. And maybe I can kind of get all that gray and then just kind of edit some other areas. Again, I'm not sure how it's going to look, but I'll start with that. And I'll call it rim front. And then I could do a rim back. I'll go here and do a rim back. and I'll take off the fill and add a stroke for now, just because I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Now, some other things I'm going to do some gray highlighting. Now watch what I do here. I'm going to go above here, and I'm going to kind of get this tire highlight, and I'm going to kind of go up here and down here. Whenever you need to make an arch, you could just make a triangle, and then I'll go in here. So I'll make this kind of angular shape, and then what you can do is get this bend tool. And again, you could do it by dragging handles and stuff, but if you're not really good at that, this works. I'll kind of do that, and you can always go back. Now you got to be careful. If you start messing with this will put it into a curve, which is actually, in this case, it's okay. But be careful. If you want to start tweaking things, you probably shouldn't use the bend tool. So I'll bend this, and I'll bend this, and now I have some of that gray tire stuff. And I'll go over and do some over here, since I'm kind of doing the same thing. I'll take my pen tool. If it's connected anyway, then hit escape. But I'm going to go around here. I'll even start down here because it kind of goes around the tire. And I'll just kind of go in increments like this. I'll even go in and out here. Now I'm not going to worry about tread or anything. And I'll get around here so I don't have any overlapping shapes. And again, just making straight line shapes. And I'll close it off so I don't have anything connected. Take my bend tool, bend, bend, bend. I'll bend that a little, bend this a little bit, bend that in almost all the way, and I'll bend this up, and I'll bend that up a little bit, and that's probably okay. So I have both my gray kind of things on the tires, and while I'm doing gray, might as well do this thing. I'll just take my pen tool here and kind of go through and just do this thing, this kind of molding on the bottom. As long as that's going to be gray too, I might as well kind of do that, see what it looks like. Because it looks like it's the same color as the gray on the tires. I'll finish that up, I'll hit done. I'll call this gray tire trim, whatever you want. And I have other grays in here. And then I can actually go through here and take away the stroke, add a fill, and give it kind of a gray color for now. Lighten it as much as I can. Take it away from the red. And just see what I have going on. Just keep testing it. So I'll go back and put all these other ones on again. Rims, because we got to do some work on the rims. So those are the tires. That looks okay. I could probably go a little darker with that. Could probably smooth some of this out a little bit more. And the tire thing, that definitely could be rounder down here. It looks kind of, it was really hard to see what the tire looked like, but that's okay. We're going to have a shadow under there anyway, so it won't be that much of an issue. So I'll go back and turn these off again. Red base, black base, all these I'm turning off. So you're kind of going through and just doing each little part here. Now I'm going to go through and do this some white highlights here. So, and then I'll get back to the tires because they'll have some white highlights. So I'm kind of going lighter here, and then I'll do some dark things in the tires, and then I'll try to finish up with this. Again, you're supposed to be doing this, but I'm just trying to practice a little bit. So it has kind of a T-top, it looks like here. So I'm going to go in here and just kind of click up here a little bit and kind of see if I can get this T-top a little bit and just go around, go down. This will kind of get the window. And you could zoom in while you're doing it if you want. I could see that I could probably take a little more room there. And you can go here and just click. I don't have to round things off completely. Let's see, where did I start? Start here. I'll try to get around it a little bit and then come back and then finish it off here. That should close it. I don't have anything connected when it's closed. And I'll use this little arrow here, maybe bring this down a little, and take the bend tool, maybe bend this thing up just a little. And if you want to grab a point, make sure you go back to this arrow thing. I'll move this point up a little bit. I'll bring this down a little. So there's going to see a little white here that maybe there's not as much. Bring this point up because this should be up a little bit. And I'll bring this point up. But again, we're illustrating, so this takes time. This isn't something you're rushing through. Maybe I'll bend this in a little bit right here, even though it's kind of a straight line. Now, any other white stuff, I'll just go in here. Here's some highlight here. Now, I know I have stuff here already, but I'll make this kind of pure white. See how this looks. I mean, Maybe the other one won't be as white. And again, I'm just making straight line things on here. I could always round them off. Any other white things? There's a little white thing here. I'll just kind of go up like that and kind of go in and make it very angular and then try and bend it. And you know what I mean by bending it. Use the bend tool, bend it up a little bit, bend this up a little bit, bend that up a little bit, bend that down. And I don't know if there's any other white stuff around here. I didn't do the license plate yet. You could bend some of this stuff a little bit if you want. There's some things in the back, whatever. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Since I'm on top of things, while I'm doing some white highlights, I'll see if I could do some things in here. I'll go here and take the pen and just kind of go in here and just kind of go in and out a little bit. And just kind of go around. This is going to be hard, and whatever I do here, it may not look great. It's hard to see. I'll bend some things in here a little bit. You know, obviously I would, for simplifying, you want to try and maybe avoid some of this kind of stuff, because I already have something that's kind of twisted around, and you don't want kind of twisty stuff like that. See if I could fix this at all. I'll kind of fix this. And maybe I'll even just delete that point. How do you delete a point? Shift, delete. Delete the point and go back on it. And there's probably some like anchor points kind of like sticking way out. Now they're getting really hard to see. And I'm going to bring them down here and do something like that. So, you know, it takes a little work here with this. It's really hard to see on here. And there's another one here. So sometimes you really got to get in here, and I'll bend this one. So it's kind of rounded a little bit. And you can see there's other stuff. You could get way in here, and it'd probably be better to use a pencil, but I'll get in here with the pen and just kind of get in here, make some shapes. I don't want you to go in here and trace like all kinds of pixels and things like that. It's got to be simplified, so I'll kind of be careful about some of this stuff in here. I'll just round it off a little bit, so it looks kind of like it's inside a wheel well. And that's all I'm going to do. Maybe there's one up here. I'll do one more up here. And again, I'm just doing this kind of shape, kind of a triangular shape, closing it, and then taking a bend tool and kind of bring it up. Now, if you want to do it with the pen, pulling handles and doing all that, that's fine. But these are so small, it may not matter. And I'm trying to keep it simple for people who haven't worked a whole lot on this yet. There's a little bit of white in there. Why not? Get as much as you can. So bend it, just a little bit like that. And let me go over to the other tire. Maybe I could get all these things done quick. I'll zoom in. That way when you zoom in, it's kind of, you're just seeing the shape, so you're not trying to draw a tire. You might just be going through here and tracing over shapes and clicking here. Then there's something down here. I could kind of simplify this whole shape maybe. You know, the whole idea is just simplifying. So when it looks good from far away. So I'll bend some things in here. I'll bend this down. I'll bend this down. Bend this down a little bit. Bend this over. Bend this over. So it's kind of following a little bit. And there's a little bit there. You can make a little white blob here. Again, it'll just look like a white blob. That's okay. And there's some other areas in here. There's a little area around the rim you could do. I mean, you could do as much or little as you want. You could always add stuff later. You could always take one of these shapes, double click on them, or hit the edit button and then go in and add some more shapes. So we have multiple shapes going on here. But this is vector illustration. It takes time. It's not easy. That's why everybody doesn't do it, and that's why you could get paid more money if you could put together a nice illustration. And what we have is probably some darker stuff to do, and I think that's pretty good with all my white highlights here. So I'm just going to go here and call them white highlights because they're white highlights all over. And I'll hit done, and I'll make my white highlights white. So I'll go down here and I'll make them pure white and take away the stroke, with a minus sign. And let's see what things look like. We have a great tire. I'll put everything on. Put on my rims. Now, I don't know if I gave my rims any color yet. And that doesn't look bad. Actually, it's starting to shape up. Starting to look like a car. They're starting to look like rims. Now, I didn't do my gray in there, but those are the tire rims. So if I selected those, and I think they're off right now. I think, unless I don't have a fill. Rim back. Let me see. Oh, it does not have a fill. So let me go and give it a kind of a darker gray fill. Maybe okay. Now I didn't put any darks in there yet, I don't think. So that may need to be lighter. Actually, maybe go lighter so I could add some. I'll go a little lighter with that because I have the highlights, but I don't have the darks in. So I'm going to go there and choose kind of a medium, and then I'll go to rim front. Oh, I turned off the fill and make it kind of like the other one. So I got my highlights and my medium, then I'm going to throw in some darks and see how this looks. So again, I'm going to go back, turn off everything over here. And we'll turn on the image. Now I'm going to put some darks in here. And you could throw the steering wheel, different stuff, but I'm going to throw some darks in my tires, just like I did the highlights. So these things are the darks. So I'm going to go above here and then just take my pen tool again, and I'm just going to go here and just kind of make some of these shapes. I don't really have to go in there like that, but I'll make that shape. And take the bend tool, round that up, maybe round that a little bit, round this up, round that up. I'm trying to follow that little bit of a shape there. I'll do that. And I could take my pen tool, maybe do a shape down here. Always make a little like triangle thing if you want just kind of a half moon or a crescent moon, and then just bend in the one side like that. And I'll take my pen tool over here and kind of just do some of this dark shape. Now, I'm not even sure how I'm doing it. I'm just kind of tracing what's here. And there's something over here. Maybe I'll just throw that in just so I have something. But again, they're all separate shapes, and I'm connecting them at the end. And I'll go over to my other tire. And you can see that these are the dark shapes here. So I might just make one big one here and just leave it at that. And bend it, bend it, bend it. I'll bend this up a little bit more. Bend this down a little. Bend this in so it's nice and narrow. And if you have to move anything, get off of that bend tool. Now there's a little more up here, so I could throw another little shape up there. Why not? Oh, hold on. And it's connected, so hit escape if it's ever connected. And then I'll go up here and just kind of create this little shape. And bend it, bend it, bend it, bend it. Bend, bend, bend. If I need to move this, move it in here. And looks like I have one more shape over here. And if it's connected, hit escape. And just start a new one. I'll just make a triangle shape here. Bend it. Bend it. Bend it a little. Bend it. Now it looks kind of Batman shape, so I'll bring this thing in a little bit. Might even be able to delete that. Shift delete. And kind of make that moon shape. And that's probably okay. Now I'm going to name this. I'll just call it wheel darks. Or rim darks. Maybe rim darks. And I'll hit done. And I'll take off the stroke. I'll fill it all with black. Solid black. And I'll see how that all looks together. Let's see how these tires look. Now, I didn't do the white lettering, which I could still do. So let me turn this on. And not bad. If I turn off the image, the tires don't look bad. I'll click off of here. They're not bad. This stuff could be maybe a little darker. Maybe these things, whatever they are, gray tire, I could probably go a little darker here. That probably looks a little better. And I just need some, I guess I need to finish this off. I need to finish off my roof here. And maybe while I'm in here, you can double click on something if you find something. What is this? Base black. Oh, it's locked. So I'll double click on here. And I'll just kind of move this around a little bit. This is a little, maybe I'll select this and go Shift Delete. Kind of round that off a little. Bring that out, maybe bring this down a little bit. Same thing with this thing. This looks a little, I don't know, like it goes out a little. I'll just try to reshape this a little bit. So it's not bad. I'll hit done on my rim darks. I'll hit done. And I want to go to my, what this thing is, red highlight. And then I have white highlights. So red highlights, yeah, I might go a little darker with this red highlight. I'll go in here and just kind of bring it down a little bit so that my white highlights come out a little. I'll make it a little like pinker. And then I have some multi-tone in there. Again, some of this is a little more angular, but you know, it's something small that's going to go on a beer can. So, and it's supposed to look like an illustration. I'm not trying to make a painting here or anything else. So what do I need to finish? Let's close all these off. What I need to finish is, looks like just to kind of finish off the top of here. There's some darks here that I want to finish off. And again, I need to go back and look at all these again. I need some kind of dark up here. I need this dark. So I'm kind of missing this stuff here. So a little bit of dark here on the top. I could put something in the back so that you could see the window, because there's a little window that you could see back there. But let me do some dark stuff up here. And I'll just call it like roof darks. So I'll go up here and I'll go right over it. I don't have to have all these off. I'll just go here and just kind of finish off this. Go over. And there's some grays in there I could work on a little bit, but I'll kind of do this. And maybe kind of do the mirror, maybe. And then maybe kind of go over here and kind of finish off the roof a little bit. Just little thin lines. And if I need to do the steering wheel, now obviously I could do a circle or something, but I could just go up here and make this triangle shape, make this triangle shape, make this triangle shape, and do that. And then take my bend tool, and again, from far away, it shouldn't need a whole lot. It should still look like a steering wheel. Oh, and I went to grab it with that tool, and I'm going to undo that. So if you need to move things, you're always better off kind of moving these things around a little bit. So that should look like a steering wheel from far away. I don't think I have to really do a whole lot with it. And if it's not roundy enough, take the bend tool and go right on the point, drag right on the point, and that way you're kind of smoothing out the point. So if you need to re-smooth it, you can do that. And I'll go back here. Even some of these other things, I'll move them around a little bit. You could even bend this out, the mirror. I know it's real tiny. I'll bend outside of the mirror. I'll grab some of these and move them around a little bit. I didn't mean to do that because I'm on my bend tool. Undo. I'll go back here and bring this down. Make sure I bring this down. See what this is connected to anything. I guess, I don't know if it's connected. I don't know how it got connected. Let's see if I could kind of bring this in here. You want to kind of make shapes that are separate shapes. It looks like that got connected, but I'll see how this works out. And all this will be kind of filled with black. add a little point there. That may be see-through. So I may just have to do some window stuff. So let's see what this looks like. I'll call it dark roof. And I'll hit done and give it a fill. Make it solid jet black. Take away my stroke. And take a look at my car. It's not bad. I mean, I have some work to do on it, but when I put a shadow under here, this thing should look okay. I could throw some more grays. I could say, well, with this layer, I want some gray up here. I could do that, or I could add some red. Whatever layer you're on, if you want some more red on the top, you can add some red. You can add some grays. I could go on this gray tire trim, and if I want to, and go edit, and then go in here and maybe, I don't know, add some gray. And guess what? It'll be colored the same color as my gray. And I'll make something there, and I'll go over here. Even if I don't want my roof to be kind of open there, I'll just make some connecting shapes, kind of go in, and then click on there, and I'll hit done. And that should make that stuff gray, except the gray tire trim, unfortunately, it's behind stuff. It's behind the white highlights, so that's a problem. And it's all part of that now. I should have done that on top, on top of that. So now I can't really bring the gray trim, or can I? I'm not sure where the gray trim is. Maybe I could bring my gray trim up above the white highlights, as long as it doesn't mess anything else up. I just brought that up. That looks okay. And it's not bad. I just need a little, let me cover up my base black and put on the image. I just need a little kind of gray back here. So maybe I'll go above here and click on the pen tool and make kind of a window kind of thing. Just a little bit of window back here. And I'll just hit done, and I'll just call it back window. And I'll give it no stroke. I'll give it a fill, and I'll kind of make it a little darker so it looks like you're seeing some background behind it. And that's kind of my back window. I'll close that. And I'll turn on that. And I'll see if I go on base black, if I could give it a drop shadow and just see what it looks like. And that's under effects, drop shadow. I'll click on my effects here, and I just want it going down. So I'm not going to do anything with X. With Y, I'll go here and make it a little bit more. And you can see it coming down there. Maybe I'll go X over a little towards the front. And you can see that's my shadow, and I'm not going to blur it much, but I am going to put this up. So I'm going right next to this number, putting that shadow up a little, and I'm going to blur it more. And I could always go and tweak it a little later, but let's see what this looks like. There's my car. And you know what? That's not too bad. I could even blur things if I wanted to. I could soften edges. Like if this was too harsh, I could actually go in here and go to blur. They actually have an effect like a blur, I think, layer blur. And I could go in here and blur it. How cool does that look? That you can blur it a little bit. So if anything's a little too harsh, you could blur it. And this one, these highlights, if they're a little too sharp, I could go into effects and choose layer blur. Now it's getting away from illustration, but why not? Why not go in here and blur it a little bit? Just a little. You could always turn that off, and now it has kind of a softer look. So that's kind of what I have so far. I could blur these things a little bit if I want, but not too bad so far. It's looking a little airbrush, so I'm not sure if I'm crazy about the blurs, but I could experiment a little bit with that, but that's going pretty well. So this is what you're kind of working towards with your practice. So I'm going to stop here because we're going to have you work on your own. I don't have my license plate there, but that's not too bad. I don't know if I like it as much as my other one, but you know, it's practice. So this doesn't have to be perfect, but we kind of made our own car. And that's pretty cool to be able to do this. Got a bunch of layers here, on maybe 10, 12 layers. And it just takes being very observant and just kind of tracing things and kind of working from kind of base colors on up. So whether you blur things or not, it's not too bad. You could put it in a different background. It's a piece of art. You could make it a ping file so it's transparent, whatever you want to do. So share this with me for ex4. That's all you have to do right now is just share this. make sure you copy your link and put it in for ex4 right now. This is all you have to do. If you do something like this, or even get close to it, or if you run into any problems, or you need help, or anything like that, let me know. But this is ex4. This should keep you busy for a little while, and then we'll start working on an image that we can put into our can. And maybe it won't be a car, maybe it'll be something else. But get some practice doing this, because this is a nice skill to kind of develop a little bit. Whether you're using Figma, Illustrator, doesn't matter. You're creating vector art, and this is pretty cool stuff if you're able to do this.